Welcome, everyone. It's Andrew Beach, Executive Coach. I'm a teacher of self-education. I help professionals like you communicate their value to find great opportunities faster. That's whether you're working or not. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I was having some issues with my audio earlier, and someone said they couldn't hear me. So if you would, please just let me know in the chat if you can read the volume, if it's all working out okay. And that you can hear what I'm saying. So I think it's working and that we might be good. I'm joining you today by LinkedIn mostly. Most of my connections are on LinkedIn, but we're also broadcasting on YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook in my group. So whatever platform you're on, if you could look down below and just share what you see here, that would be wonderful. This is free coaching every single week. I come here 3 p.m. Pacific time to help support you and your success. So please take a moment and just share this broadcast to someone you think might need it or need help from it. You may or may not see the particular topic we have for today, but it has a lot to do with networking. And I'm seeing this a lot lately, especially maybe with some of you here today. But we'll get to that in just a second. What questions do you have? I'm here to answer. So leave your questions in the chat box. I'll likely get them and respond to them during the session. Also, in the description of the video, wherever you're joining from here live, as long as I'm live, you can come on live. The link in the description or in the chat, if you can find it, will bring you on live so that we can have a conversation about your situation, your circumstance, your question. If you need additional support that's a little more dynamic than just doing the answers of the chat, that would be great. I'd love to have you on, and you'll be recorded and you'll get exposure. I think that's the other part of this group every Friday, is that we have a chance to give each other exposure, not only for us professionally, but maybe us personally. If there's something that you want to talk about, then by all means, let's talk about it. The other part of this is a community and we support each other. So if you see someone in the chat, feel free. In fact, I think everybody here is open to having a conversation with other people that are showing up here. So if that's you, let me know in the chat. Put your LinkedIn profile in the chat, and I can broadcast that to the other channels so that people can see it. So keep that in mind. I've got this going on my phone, so I wanted to make sure the audio is working, so it looks like it's working, and thank you, Chelsea, for saying that. So the topic I really wanted to talk about today was related to networking, and I think all of you know that I'm an advocate for the networking piece of it. And many of the candidates that I've talked to, people I've talked to in transition this week, they had a hard time getting the conversation started. And often they felt like, hey, what the networking should be about is the fact that I need a job. Okay, so they made it employment focused. And whenever you network with somebody and it's employment focused and you come up from it from that perspective, you may not get the results you expect. And so they kept asking me, or traditionally in this process, people keep asking me, why can I not talk about my employment? And this is probably a pretty universal paradox. And I don't often use the dating analogy, but I think it's a lot like dating, or let's just say establishing a friendship. So if you're trying to establish a friendship with a new person and you go and meet that person, and when you do meet that person, you talk about yourself, your needs, your aspirations, your goals, your dreams, your objectives, what's likely to happen if you talk about yourself? You can imagine, right? Is that if I become about me, it's less inclusive. And I know we're all about inclusion these days. Let's be more inclusive of the audience. What is it that's important to them? Okay, I see Joe here. Hey, Joe, good to see you. You know what, Joe's in sales. He gets it, right? In sales, well, not all salespeople, I should be clear, but most salespeople, and I think Joe falls in this category, seek first to understand, meaning they're trying to identify the customer need. the customer want, the pain they're feeling, the challenges they're going through. Are a lot of people going through challenges right now? And honestly, though, folks, that's not to diminish the fact that you're going through a struggle as well. Don't mistake what I'm saying. It's that everybody is going through a challenge right now with a pandemic, work from home, furloughs, being laid off. I mean, everybody is going through a challenge. I think we would all agree with that. I'm no exception, right? I'm not immune to any of these effects either. So when someone reaches out to me and says, hey, you know what, Andrew, are you okay? I know I've seen you around here and, you offer a lot of contributions or what have you. I always appreciate the kind words people tell me. But, when someone comes to me and is offering something of contribution, I'm more likely to help and respect and support that person. Therefore, if I'm coming into a situation where I'm networking with another person and I'm focusing on my need for employment and myself, it's likely not going to go well. So what's the alternative? Talk about a topic. What is the topic that you know the most about? Could you, instead of talking about that topic ad nauseum from an individual perspective to demonstrate your skill, could you ask questions of the audience around that topic? So let's take, I don't know, visual arts or photography, right? If I have a passion for photography and I'm trying to win somebody over, then how would I do that? Would I say, hey, I love photography. I take these kind of pictures in this kind of way, and I'm looking for these kind of people to take pictures for? No. I'm going to say, hey, what's your interest in photography? How long have you been doing that? You see how this works? I'm demonstrating interest, and I'm talking around a topic which is low stakes, interest in photography. So what is it in the audience that you can discern from the person that introduced you to that audience, what you see on their profile page, on social media? What do you see in that person that's an area of common interest? And I'm not talking, surface level interests like, I don't know, dog rescue. I guess dog rescue could be one if it's something you're wanting to go into. But if you're looking at dog rescue to get access to them in a bait and switch mode, it's probably not an appropriate approach. So that's something to think about. Hey, Charlie, good to see you. Welcome back to Career Happy Hour every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. If you're just tuning in and joining us on whatever platform you're on, please click the little share button. Drive this out to your networks of people. I want to get more people involved in our little community here to make it a much broader community that we can support each other. There's critical mass in everything, right? The more people we get involved, the more that you'll have success. And I think more quantity leads to more quality. It's just fact, right? It's that 80-20 rule. Is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your people. But if you expand your 100%, isn't there more people in the 20%? Probably. That's just my suspicion. Averages work out. So the idea here is that we're talking around a topic. We're not talking around our need for employment. We're not talking around our resume. We're not talking about open positions, interview process. Those are things that really are not appropriate for developing professional relationships. Not that they won't come up or you'll be asked. And if you're asked, you can certainly offer, right, contributions that way. But, it's like it's almost like back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember, but can vampires actually enter your house? One of my coaches, when I was being coached by a gentleman in real estate, he said, it's the vampire rule, right? You can't go take somebody else's listing, right? You can't solicit a listing. But if that person calls you, they've invited you into the conversation. That's how it works. So this is the same way, right? If somebody invites you into a conversation about employment, great. Then you have permission to actually talk about those things. Good. Excellent. Natalie, good to have you. Welcome. You're welcome to pass this on and share it with anybody. It's Career Happy Hour. It's cocktail hour. Terry came up with that one, and I kind of enjoy it, but I'll give him credit. It's cocktail hour. But the idea here is if I'm networking with somebody, and I want to get farther in the process, meaning I want to get to more people, more better people, because it could be this person is a person adjacent to a hiring team, not actually on the hiring team. Then I want to have an opportunity then to get to those people. And if I demonstrate that I'm self-interested, I'm less likely to get there. So the objective is, hey, if I do enough curiosity seeking, if I do enough Q&A in a non, in an authentic way that's genuine for me and what I'm trying to accomplish, yeah, I think that's valuable. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. I'm happy to answer. I'm here for you. So I do like to offer some information, some education. I like to educate people. You probably all know that about me, and to share some wisdom about what's working and what may not be working for the candidates that I coach. And so you can access a lot of free resources. If you go to my website, andrewbeach.com, I think you'll see there's a whole free resources section. If you're interested in that, great. If you need additional support in a paid coaching capacity, that's available too. It's not something I talk about a lot here on Friday, but that is available if you're interested. Not everybody's interested, and I understand. That's fine. There's a lot of free resources available on that website. I also have a podcast. So if you're interested, jobseekersradio.com is the podcast, jobseekersradio.com. In fact, I could probably put that in the chat if you guys are interested. Go ahead and leave any questions you have in the chat. I'm absolutely happy to answer. And so has anybody out there actually listened to my podcast? Maybe I'm the only one. I produce it, so I have to listen to it. But jobseekersradio.com. Truthfully, it's Scott Picard Jones and I put it together. So it's co-hosted. And if that's something you're interested in, please go ahead and access jobseekersradio.com. And you should have an opportunity there to get additional support. And I think that's valuable. Absolutely. Good. So what questions do you have? What questions do you have for me, folks? Good to see you. Sitting with another job seeker. Excellent. We can still connect. Good. So it looks like there's actually some networking happening in the chat. I appreciate that. Yes. Thank you, Chelsea, for those kind words. Good to be back. Ready for another session. So what topics could we focus on when we reach out to people? That might be a question that you have. Well, I think there's this interesting thing called a Venn diagram, right? Have you all seen these Venn diagrams? They're like, I don't know if I have it here, but it's like they have 3 circles or more that overlap. It could just be 2 circles because it's you and another person. But if it's you and another person in your individual circles, and then you overlap with the topic, that's where I think it happens, right? So what topics could we think about sharing? So the topic I like is one that's a passion topic and maybe something that you could get some advice or information from the other person. So what does that look like? Well, maybe I have a passion around education. And right now, education is kind of in turmoil. There's homeschooling going on. There's whole educational systems that now have to execute their learning online, which is not easy. If you've ever made a digital transformation like that, it's not easy. Taking a classroom teacher and putting them in front of a webcam to deliver that training is a lot different than training them up to deliver education in a classroom. It's a new skill set. So there's a lot of dissonance there, right? There's a lot of transformational pain that's happening in K-12 education. A lot of the colleges, interestingly enough, already had some form of online education because they were trying to compete on a global basis. They had global competitors and they were forced, a lot of them, to offer online education. So they have addressed that marketplace, and they're, for the most part, I think a lot of the colleges have that figured out, but K-12 doesn't. And so if I have an interest in K-12 education and delivering K-12 over Zoom or other things, then, or getting people together, right? If I'm a parent, now I have an idea about getting pods together, right? A pod of people or a group of people that would get together around this idea of collective learning outside the classroom, right? So there might be a proctor or a teacher or a tutor that a group of families put together. And if that's something you're interested in doing as a business, right, or as a nonprofit opportunity to develop a new system that way, that sounds interesting to me. And so I would then reach out to people in nonprofit spaces, K-12 education, educational service providers, right? I would now have a purpose for networking that's personal to me and productive for them, knowing that I have expertise in what? Delivering remote learning, establishing online courses, communicating in that kind of way digitally is a key skill right now. I think you could all probably understand that. So that's where I would say, okay, here's a topic that I could then approach other people with, and whether or not they can lead me to that audience is not relevant. So maybe I reach out to somebody that I used to work with that was in, I don't know, semiconductors, right? Somebody like at Intel, let's say, for example, right? So I'd reach out to them and say, hey, we work together. We have this common bond of some kind, and I'd like to reconnect with you and have a conversation about a strategic project I'm working on. What is that strategic project? It's a business formation to help people implement on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis, educational training that is a pod-based system. And I'd like to share some details with that, get your perspective, and perhaps see who else you might know that we would benefit with talking to. So good. So there's a question here from Charlie. I'll get to that in just a second. So that's a topic of personal passion interest, right? A personal passion project. Some people call that, I think Scott calls it a vanity project. Maybe you're just looking to improve your communication skills, right? And you're looking for opportunities to speak publicly in front of audiences that want to learn about team building in a remote workforce that's in work from home status, okay? And so if I appreciate public speaking and I don't have a forum to do that, but I have a topic that's relevant for today, then I could meet with my network where we had a common bond and let them know about my current aspirations. Now, what does that have to do with a job, Andrew? You might be asking. Well, there's certainly people that need those skills right now. So you're overlapping not just you and them and a passion, but also a market need, okay? So if there's you, them, passion, market need, you have a winning combination. So what is that for you? What is the market need that you can deliver today? Put that in the chat. What is the market need that someone else would need from you that you could deliver today? If it was just a need and a skill and an execution, what would that look like? Okay. While I'm waiting on that, I will offer up Charlie's question. Thank you, Charlie, for joining us today. Charlie says, what is your advice on evaluating job offers? And how do we negotiate the best offer in competing and the current environment? Thanks. Well, I always like more than one offer. It puts you in a position of strength. And the more things you can have behind you that disconnect you from the outcome, the better. So what is my advice? It depends. It depends on your financial runway. It depends on how attached you are to an outcome, meaning if you didn't get the job, would that be a big deal? It means how many other jobs are down the pipeline? Do you have something else in play? Do you have more than one offer? There's a lot of variables is my suggestion, right? And I don't know the details of your situation, but I do know that there are certain key performance indicators that would allow you to have leverage in negotiating. One, how promptly did the hiring team run you through a process? Okay. So if I get a call, let's say today it's Friday, I have an interview on Monday with the recruiter, an interview on Tuesday with the hiring manager, and they're looking to make a decision by Thursday. Who has motivation? Okay. So I'm just observing how they're behaving. Okay. If I learn that somebody quit yesterday, the recruiter called me today, and I'm talking to a hiring manager on Monday, who is in a position of needing that expertise, that labor the most? And it would be them, right? So that means you have to observe how quickly the interview process goes, how they approach it, how quickly they want to run you through a process, when the start date is, right? So that those are indicators. The other variable, the second variable outside of how they treat you, is your performance in the interviews. If we were to look at your performance, would you say that was a Academy Award winning worthy performance? And you just hit all the paces. You checked all the boxes. They felt super comfortable about you, and you know an offer is coming, right? You've probably been in those situations before, but it really depends, right? If you feel like you delivered well, and they're running you fast through a process, then you have leverage. And so that's the second component. Third component I discussed earlier is how attached are you to the outcome? And that means if you don't get the job, is that going to be bad? Is that going to hurt you? Are you going to regret it? Okay. And you might take some time to consider that. That's why even in today's market, I think it's important that you have a day or two just to process all this kind of stuff and talk through it with an objective third party, somebody that's not attached to your income like a family member, right? Yes, talk it over with the spouse if you've got one. I get that, right? But you really need to identify for yourself what is important to you if you don't get this job, right? So think about it from that perspective. But it's a good question, right? And I really think that a lot of people are concerned right now about certain things. And that is, oh, there's lots of competition. There's a lot of people in the marketplace. There's all these different things. I mean, I see people going quickly through interview processes and onboarding remotely. This stuff just still happens. I think what we're also seeing is that recruitment was going through a process of having to do all this stuff remotely as well, right? And in my estimation, it would make things easier, but there's an adjustment process. So it just really depends on the situation. So if there's something else, a follow-on question that you have about them, then that would be great. Good. So it looks like Troy had made a comment. If you could be more specific there, Troy, on project management team leader, that would be great. But if you have something that you bring to a space, think about what it is you bring to that space. And it's typically not a domain like project management. So if you're bringing something to project management, what is that? If you're an exceptional team leader, what is it about the team leadership oops, sorry, clicked the wrong one there. Let's get back here. Where is it? Troy, there it is. If it's something related to team leadership, okay, what is it that makes you exceptional in team leadership? What is your philosophy on team leadership? What would people say about you regards to team leadership? And what I've then developed is a leadership philosophy or a leadership approach. And that's what I want to talk about with somebody is best practices around leadership in this kind of way. Okay. So think about it from that perspective. Take it a couple steps further rather than just the common, theme. Good. So Zai, I was turned down for 2 jobs this week. I just move on to the next. Yeah. Hey, turn the page. It's funny because people sometimes don't recognize that things work out best for those that make the best of the way things work out. And truthfully, that means you're one step closer to success. And it's not fun getting turned down, but I tell you what, sometimes it's for the better. It may not have been a fit. The salary might have been wrong. There might have been reasons why outside your control that you didn't get those things. So it is what it is. And you can only control your daily activities. And I appreciate the fact that you're just moving on to the next, getting back into the batter's box and swinging that bat. So good. Thank you. See, this is what this community is all about, Ted. Thank you. Is that Ted teaches negotiation, and be happy to coach you on that part of the process if you're interested. Okay. So this is what I like is that we're here together to make contributions to each other. So please do that. Okay. Good. Yes, of course you would. Of course you would, Charlie. So connect with Ted, get together online and have a conversation. That's what this is all about. So that's what it's all about. So what are the questions you have? Remember, I'm here every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time to answer your questions, provide you coaching. There's a link in the chat. If you want to come on live, I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody. So if you want to come on, Chelsea, or let's see, Charlie, Ted, you've been on before, so I suppose if nobody else wants to come on, you can come on. So I just need a little drink here. Good. Lots of connection going on in the chat. I do appreciate that. So there's also something I wrote in my journal this week that I wanted to share with you, my readers. So let's see. Here's the thing. Actually, this was in relation to a job description, right? What to do about the job description. Looks like a perfect fit or a unicorn. So if I'm in a situation where I have a job description that I feel fits me perfectly, what do I do about that? What do I do about that? So I'm seeing this quite a bit, is that people see this job description, they think it's a perfect fit. And what is it that you do about that? And I think it comes down to the fact that, if I can talk about that, how I would solve that problem to somebody on the hiring team outside of my need for employment or application resume, I think I might actually get farther along in that process. Or if I approach them in that way and I find out, oh, they had a preferred candidate, guess what? They just saved me a whole bunch of time. So I think there's really a number of different ways we can respond to a job posting that looks like a unicorn online that fits us perfectly. And part of that might be that we're shooting too low. Maybe you need to shoot higher. Sometimes we think, oh, we're not getting responses because we're overqualified, or excuse me, we need to reduce our expectations because nobody sees value in our expertise. And it could be the exact opposite. They see value in your expertise, but it's more expertise than they need. And that would mean you'd want to shoot higher. In fact, I had somebody today, interesting enough, a conversation I had today where the gentleman was like, hey, I'm always at, my resume and my expertise is VP level, but I just prefer to be a director, right? It's a choice. And that's a challenge because, pulling back after you've had that level of job and then trying to convince somebody that you wouldn't be bored is really a hard sell. I mean, I think about sales a lot because I come from sales, but there's a lot of situations where, hey, this person is a no, and I'm trying to sell them into a maybe. And that's what it's like. It's like selling a no into a maybe. It's just a law of diminishing returns that you're going to continue to try to convince somebody who's just disinterested. And the suggestion I had is, hey, maybe it's not a linear search that you're looking for. It's moving in a direction that would allow you growth. What is the direction would allow you growth? So that would be C-suite, right? So if I was VP, next step for me might be C-suite, COO, CFO, whatever that is. And on top of that, it could have been making a transition out of that industry into something else. Then you would have a reasonable approach or explanation for why you didn't want to take another VP role. Is that, hey, you want to get your feet wet with new technology or a new industry, or perhaps you're looking at nonprofit. Well, nonprofit, a VP would probably be an executive director. So, but if that's around a passion of yours for homelessness or sustainability or green energy or whatever, then I think that's a match. Often people limit themselves based on their title, and that's unfortunate. Or they let their resume do the talking for them. So that's a challenge. Good. So Troy, we're getting there, right? We're getting there. So you're able to motivate and drive a team to success. So I'm always kind of curious about this word drive, because people are seeing that as kind of a buzzword now, driving or that sort of thing. So what is it really driving? What are you driving? Think about it from that perspective. And if I was to say, what is the best example of your work, what would that be? So think about it. Think about it. Get to know each person and lean on their strengths. Good. Question in the chat. community here from Chelsea. Should we be journaling each day of our unemployment so we can see progress and possible next steps? Yes. However, I don't know that the journaling should be. So here's the challenge with journaling is often if we're in job search and we're not having success, we document a lot of unsuccess. So I believe in journaling wins. So put a date, put a win, have almost a highlight reel. Oh, this does work. Okay. So you write it down. Oh, it worked again, right? So now I get some affirmation, some oxytocin rather than some, feelings of deficiency. So just be cautious. I would suggest actually, Chelsea, and I've recommended this quite frequently, is look up on Amazon a 5-minute journal. There's a thing in there called the 5-minute journal. And truthfully, and they probably don't like me saying this, but they show exactly what you should be writing about in your journal in the pictures on Amazon. So if you have your own journal, like I have my own journal, I just write in the journal, what would make today great? What would make today great? And I love that question. In fact, we should probably put it up on the screen. What would make today great? Let me go see if I can get to 5-minute journal. I'll get you the questions here. They're really good. Okay, 5-minute journal. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. It says a happier you in 5 minutes a day. Okay, so let me do this. Let me read you. There's only 5 questions here, I think, and the first one has 3 sections to it. Okay. So here's the first question. I am grateful for ... and I list 3 things. So when you start your day in the morning, you write down 3 things you're grateful for. I woke up with a pulse today. I have a roof over my head. I've got running water, right? Maybe it's just something simple like that. Gratitude, okay? The next question is, what would make today great? And you list 3 things that would make today great. Okay, 5-minute journal. It's on Amazon. I think they charge for it, but really, you could just write these down on a 3x5 card and keep it inside your journal as a bookmark and just answer the questions there. Third question, daily affirmation. Daily affirmation. What do you want to affirm to yourself? I have value in the marketplace. I have value in the marketplace. I have value in the marketplace. So maybe you say that 5 or 10 times over and over again. I have value in the marketplace. I have value. I'm a great teacher. I am a great coach. Okay. So whatever that is, create for yourself a daily affirmation. And it might change day by day, but I think you get what I mean. It's just an affirmation. It has to be true though. And so the thing with affirmations, and I have a book on that called Affirmations of Wealth, is that we shouldn't put a conjunction there and, or that sort of thing. Just state truth. So if it's an affirmation and it's true, that's when it really works and it's really powerful. So don't put conditions on your affirmations, right? I create happiness. I create happiness. Tranquility, right? I love tranquility. I love tranquility. Anyway, come up with something that works for you. So that's in the morning, right? In the morning, you answer those 3 questions. In the evening, you answer these 2 questions, right? What are 3 amazing things that happened today? 3 amazing things that happened today. For me, I taught, I think, north of 150 people on webinars. I thought that felt pretty good. Had a wonderful introductory conversation with 2 coaching clients. That was wonderful, right? So I had amazing things that happened today, and seeing people have expressions of relief and gratitude and potential, huge, feels really good, okay? So 3 amazing things that happened today. Next would be, how could today have been made even better? How could I have made today better? Okay, so for me, that would have been maybe exercise, right? It would have been great if I could have got a workout in today, whatever that looks like. Fridays are pretty tight for me until about now. When I do this career happy hour, after this, I would have some space, but think about it from that perspective. What would have made today better? So you see that you're seeing possibility, you're seeing potential, you're seeing gratitude, you're seeing a whole lot of things that would be valuable things, okay? 5-minute journal. What would make today great? Good. Thank you for putting that in the chat, Chelsea. I do appreciate that. Let's see. What's the next question here in the chat? Let me get to it. How do you market yourself to show you're open for both freelance, part-time, and full-time employment correctly on LinkedIn or even a resume? You don't. The execution of your benefit, skill, strength is rudimentary. It's elementary. So if I was in a position where I could do freelance, then great. I'm going to consider that as an opportunity. If I had an opportunity to do part-time, great. Give me the part-time. If I'm interested in full-time, great. Give me the full-time. That's something that comes when you have a conversation with a person. So if we're depending on our resume, our LinkedIn profile, and everything else to tell our story, we're at a disadvantage. What the LinkedIn profile and the resume should do is elicit a dialogue. So if you're sharing too much information on LinkedIn or your resume, then you're likely getting these people are visiting your stuff. They're seeing everything they need to exclude you from a process. So it might be something to consider culling your resume and removing some information. Good. Personal advice. If you don't already work out, do so because it boosts your confidence and brain abilities. Yeah, I agree. Who knows about Panda Planner? I'm not familiar with that one. I think the things we have affirmations about, I make people happy. Yeah. How? Yeah, exactly. Well, so so what the affirmations are intended to do is get your mind right. Okay. Get your mind right. So the affirmations aren't always for other people, right? So in job search, what would I create as an affirmation? I seek I seek interviews. I'm an interview seeking person. I'm an interview seeking person. I'm an interview seeking person. So now I'm affirming that which is most important to me, and that is getting interviews. And so now I can say, okay, what's the best way to get an interview? So it's something meant for yourself, if that makes sense. So I know we've kind of gotten off topic here, but yeah. So yes, I would agree. You need to journal and you need to do all those things. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat again, and it's in the description actually too. If you would like to join live and get some direct coaching for me right now, use the link. And remember, I'm here every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, ready to take your questions and your calls. So there you have it. So if that's you and you want to come on live, let's do this. We'll get you into the system. Admit you. Just make sure if you come in here that you turn off your LinkedIn video, because it will then, well, at least mute your LinkedIn video, I suppose. So mute your LinkedIn video, because when you come on here, we get an echo and it's about a 6-second delay, and it's really, really kind of distracting. So keep that in mind. Good. There we go. Join me live. Good. Thank you. You're welcome. I seek to get interviews. Right. I'm an interview seeking machine. I am an interview seeking machine. Good. Okay. Let's see. Do you have any suggestions to help when you get stuck and can't move forward and you have to move forward? Well, so I think there's something in that I hear, that's something related to helplessness, right? So if we're helpless, the opposite of that would be what? If we feel helpless, if we feel stuck, we feel helpless. What is the opposite of that? What is the opposite of helpless? Let me know in the chat. I'll grab a drink. What is the opposite of helpless? Let me know in the chat when you get a chance. I know there's like a delay, so there might be a section in the video here where you have a delay. What is the opposite of helpless? And what part of that do we control? Okay. So part of this process is, if I get stuck or I feel like I'm losing resilience, fine, take a break. Take a break. If you need a break, take a break. Sometimes we're the hugest critic that we have is ourselves. And we feel stuck because we're holding ourselves to a standard that's unrealistic. Okay. And so what is the expectation I have of myself? Think through that part of it. And yes, good. Thank you, Chelsea. Yes. So here's the thing. If I feel helpless, it's an opportunity for me to do the opposite, which is be helpful. Okay. That means I could, what? I was talking to some friends just early this morning, had a weekly meeting with a couple of guys that we do a virtual coffee thing every Friday morning. And we were talking about how could we be of service to the community. And this gentleman took it upon himself to spend, I don't know, $400 or $500 buying groceries. And he put together these bags. Each bag had a certain mixture of food in it. Some of it mostly non-perishables. Okay. So he and his wife spent $500 putting that together. They put it in bags and they went out to a parking lot and put a sign up on their car that said, if you need a meal and food, here's some free food. Take it away, right? So now I'm not suggesting you have to go and spend money to do this, but they did. They have the resources they're employed, right? That's a different story, but that doesn't mean you couldn't be helpful to somebody else. What does that look like? Well, I don't know. What are you interested in? What can you not abide? And what I look at is things like food insecurity. Could you, when you go to make a meal for yourself, make an extra portion and give that to somebody on the street? Yeah, you could. Doesn't have to be sophisticated. Doesn't have to be a lot of money. What can you do? What can you do to be helpful to somebody else? And what I find is when I feel helpless and I feel stuck, the more helpful I can be to somebody else, the better I feel. And when the better I feel, the more productive I am, and it unhinges something in my mind in terms of my helplessness. Okay. Good. The thought is you can't tell people what to do. You have to motivate them to get to the goal. Okay, well, so great. So there's a goal that's not tell-driven, right? What's the opposite of tell-driven leadership? Okay. What is the opposite, Troy, of tell-driven leadership? Okay. We're trying to help you develop and articulate your leadership philosophy so that you can have it better, right? Lead them to a goal. What does leadership look like to you, right? It's just a different version of saying leadership. Okay. Let's be a little more descriptive about what that looks like. If I was to use visual words to do that, okay? Good. Yes. Able to help others and help yourself. You help yourself by helping others. That's the paradox. That's the beauty of that paradox. Okay. I was go lately, and then I took one day at the beach and then was back at it. Worth the 11 hours round trip to the Oregon coast. Totally agree. If you're in a spot that you need a break, by all means, take a break. Give yourself some space and some grace. And let your, establish some new standards for yourself, because your standards you might be being too hard on yourself. Okay. And then certainly there's a lot so if you're in transition or maybe have a separation package from your employer, that sort of thing, and you have access to EAP, I would take advantage of that. Okay. And a lot of EAP providers are offering their services to everybody. Okay. Everybody. Good deal. Good deal. Thank you for those contributions. Oh, okay. So here's another question from Zai. The interviewer wants me to be part of their communities instead of a job. That's interesting. I think it is an opening door. Yeah, I mean, there's value in, so that's not much different than, say, joining a LinkedIn group. So let's say I join a LinkedIn group and I make contributions there pro bono. Fine. Right? I have an opportunity to gain exposure, interact with other people. It's an easy way for me to get conversations going. So yes, I could see value in that side. That would be a wonderful way to go to get conversations going and to leverage that community to offer value and then ask for a conversation offline, right? So if you're in a community and you're interacting there, do what you can to get offline and have a conversation. Schedule a side meeting on Zoom or something of that nature. Okay. Good. I like it. You know what I like, Chelsea, is that you're coming, when I see your evolution, right? And your evolution is you're making contributions in the team, right? In the community. And I love that. Keep doing that. Okay. You're an artist and have clients for paintings, drawings, and tattoos. It's still starving artist, but it works. That's what matters, isn't it? You're chasing something that matters to you, and it's currently working. It may not be ideal, but it's one step closer to joy, fulfillment, and things that you feel like you were designed to do. So keep at it. Okay. Yes. Think about the other. So each of us is a unique set of skills and abilities, and we don't have. We're not different people based on our communities that we're a part of. Okay. We're one integrated human being, and we bring those skills to each community, regardless of who we are. So think about it from that perspective, because your skills can be transferable to many different industries, many different companies, many different communities. Good deal. Okay. Good. Hey, you know what, Teresa, if you want to come on live and you're feeling stuck, maybe we could talk through it and get you unstuck as a team here. You know what? This is a community. This is a community. We're all here to support each other. And so if you want to come on live, please go ahead. We'll give it a shot, if you will. So good to have you here. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, or you can come on live. The link is in the description to come on live by video, and you and I can have a dialogue. It's a little more dynamic that way, if you know what I mean. Okay, good. Troy, this is what it's all about, actually. Wrestling with the language. So what you have to think is word pictures, okay? Word pictures. What would I see if I saw you doing leadership well? What would I see you doing? Are you coming alongside people, supporting them, lifting them up with resources, right? Lifting them up. You see how I'm using word pictures and my nonverbals? Do you see people struggling and offer support? Do you give them resources? Do you deliver resources? Do you walk alongside? Right? We're thinking in word pictures. So if you were to just close your eyes and say, okay, the last time I did this, here's what I did. I went from here to there, and describe it like it's to somebody who's blind, I guess. I mean, or a fourth grader, right? What would I see you doing? What would I see you doing? Good. Yeah, I mean, the opposite of tell, I don't think that's show, but opposite of tell is listen, right? Speaking, listening, right? The opposite of telling is listening. So I'm a listening leader. I listen to understand. I listen. I'm hearing. I help people be heard. I lead by helping people be heard, right? So I'm just wrestling with the language. That makes sense, right? It's when you have sandpaper, it knocks off the rough edges, doesn't it? And so the more you can wrestle with that language and knock off the rough edges, the easier it's going to be to articulate that in an interview, in a networking situation with people here on LinkedIn. What do you love doing? Well, I love doing projects. Is that really what you love doing? No, I really love, you see how you use the word love? That's a little bit different. I love coming alongside people and supporting them, lifting them up with resources, okay, through listening. I'm a listening leader. I like them to be heard, if that makes sense. And from that, what do I get? I get successful projects. Why? Because people feel appreciated. So I walk alongside people to help them feel appreciated. Just wrestle with that language. Keep working it, okay? Good. Yeah, I mean, so part of, one thing I will say, Chelsea, that is correct in your assessment is that when you're in an interview, it's important that you show people, not just tell them. You show them through example and through a story. So could I give you an example, right? I feel I come alongside people to lift them up with resources and help them be heard so that we can get more faster project. Okay. Can I give you an example where I did that well? See how that works? So I'm saying what I'm good at and what I enjoy. That's branding per se. And then I'm switching gears and talking now about what? About an example. And I asked their permission to do that. And I share a great thing. So good. Validate and be inclusive of all. Yes. So if that's the language that Mina uses to demonstrate her leadership, I love gifting people validation, right? I love gifting people appreciation and gratitude. I see leadership as a gift of gratitude and appreciation, right? So now I'm working through the language of how I want to present myself and see what fits me. You don't have to use my language, but you see the process, right? We're just wrestling with the language until we get it right for us, if that makes sense. Good. Listen. Yes. Good. Let me see here. Question for the group. Good. Let's put it up in front of the group. If you're in project management, what do you love about project management? Because I've been asked that in interviews and I feel like I BS sometimes, right? Because your answer probably changes based on the audience and the opportunity, okay? So this is really where self-reflection makes a difference, because when you put on a pair of shoes that are comfortable, you want to keep walking in them, okay? When you put on a pair of shoes that aren't very comfortable, you can't get out of them fast enough and you're going to put them maybe back on the shelf, not even buy those things. Now, I use shoes as a metaphor for what you love about certain things. So if the thing you love about project management, and I had that conversation this morning, the guy did not like working projects. That was just inherent to his job. What he really liked was developing people and getting them on his side. So it was really the woo factor, right? Winning people over, winning over others, if you know what I mean. And so that was really what he was all about, is winning others over. And we identified a couple other things, but truthfully, that was the foundation of the whole thing, is winning others over and then developing them to be better project managers, especially mentoring junior project folks. So it's looking within that domain called project management and saying, what piece of that pie do I fit into, and only I fit into? Because each one of us is like a puzzle piece. And there's a puzzle waiting for us to be fit into it. Okay. We have to look at it from that perspective. Good. So, I mean, for you, so Chelsea, here's the challenge when you're asking the group to validate your situation, is that you're going to get their perspective without seeing your own. So just keep that in mind when you go through this process. You're getting their perspective. You have to decide, what is my perspective in that situation. Good. All right. Excellent. Troy, working with the language. Awesome. Listening to what they need, work alongside them to reach their need, lifting them up to showing them they all have value. Doesn't that feel awesome? Doesn't it feel awesome when you give people the tools and resources to be successful? And that speaks volumes, Troy, about your character, doesn't it? And now if I could see an example of that, where you did that with a guy named Charlie or Chelsea, a gal named Chelsea, right? That we put a face to a name, because stories and emotion sell. So sometimes we feel like, hey, I don't know how to sell myself. Well, actually you do. You just need to give yourself permission to use stories with emotion, and that's going to sell every time. Can I give you an example? Once upon a time in a land far, far away, right? You just go down that path and share that information, that perspective with people. So good. Good. So here's Charlie. I love the sense of achievement after it is accomplished. So you're an achiever, right? And achievers like to see closed loops, right? I get a lot of satisfaction and I love closing loops, right? And but I love closing loops to make systems better. So I'm process improvement systems guy, right? Systems thinker maybe, or process thinking. If that's you, great. Then you know what? I love the idea of a beginning and end. I like seeing things tangibly go from something good to something better, right? So now I'm speaking, and it may seem like generalities, but what you're articulating is something that comes from your heart, not from your head. Think about it from that perspective. What is it that comes from your heart, not from your head? Okay. PM, love getting the team to work together and work to a common goal and meeting the goals. Okay. That's the outcome, the result, tangible. Okay. So if you're getting the team to work together, how do you get them to work together? What's the how behind that? And why do you love it so much? Why do you love it so much? So you probably are kind of like an engine, right? Can you tell when an engine the timing isn't right? The engine kind of chugs along, and there's one valve that's stuck, and that cylinder doesn't fire properly. You know what I mean? It's a metaphor, right? Troy, is it that you like to extinguish dysfunction? Maybe you just can't abide dysfunction. You just don't like to see it happen to people, right? Work to a common goal, right? So getting on their side, right? That's again, woo. That's winning over others. So look in that. So if you haven't yet taken it, I would recommend, Troy, looking at StrengthsFinder. It's a good assessment if you haven't taken it. The other one is Standout. Marcus Buckingham had his hand in both of those. I really appreciate Standout because it's not from my perspective. It's how others view me. And I think that's unique for a lot of assessments, because many of the other assessments are self-focused, right? How I see me rather than how others see me. So think about it from that perspective. You might look at some assessments to help you with that. Good. I'm glad you appreciate that, Chelsea. Tools, character is key. Yes, actually, yes. I was once told there's 3 C's: chemistry, competency, and I have to remember the last one. Character? I don't know. Could be character, I suppose. Good. So project management for Mina, engaging with different work streams and their perspectives about a common problem. Right. So sometimes it's uncovering, right? Some of us like to get under the covers and identify root cause, right? So I'm an investigator of root cause. I'm an identifier of root cause. I'm a doctor of root cause. I diagnose root cause. Maybe that's one of the things I enjoy about it, but when it's not the identification of the root cause. It's actually articulating the root cause to other people to get action, right? Maybe that's part of it. Okay. Good. I appreciate that. Good. Chelsea, you got it. Character. So maybe that's it. I don't remember the 3 C's. Remember the 4 P's, the FIRE method, right? I remember a lot of acronyms, but I don't think I've heard that one before. So thanks for sharing. Any other questions out there? I know we've been here close to an hour. I do my best to try to fit in as many questions as possible. And if someone wants to come on live, I'm open to do that. If you want to get unstuck, if that's you and you want to get unstuck, Teresa. Okay. I recognize you're stuck. Let's get you unstuck. Click the link in the description and come on live. Activate your webcam. Maybe you need to fix up your hair or whatever. Anyway, fix up your hair, mute your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn page, or pause the video on the LinkedIn page, and we can have you come on live and we'll help you get unstuck. The unstuckness. Sticky. Got to run. All right, Troy, thanks for coming. Appreciate that. All right, so if we don't have any guests here and we don't have any questions, I'm going to wish you all a great weekend. I do appreciate you and this community. Let's spread the word. If you know of somebody who could benefit from this, much like Chelsea, I think, had a buddy in the room, that's great. Do a watch party. maybe have a watch party for Career Happy Hour. Anyway, something to think about. All right, guys, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday. Take care.